Good evening. Everybody could please I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have two people that have signed up to speak this evening on the agenda items that are on here. Each person will have 3 minutes. I'll be sitting down timing, and then once you're done, we'll ask you to please wrap up if you haven't wrapped up already for the next speaker, okay? The purpose this evening is for our 4 committees. They've designated speakers to discuss what each one of their committees have come up with, some recommendations for our board. After tonight, we have a committee meeting on Monday, and at that time our board will be discussing a future special board meeting that will be designated just for discussions of facilities and moving forward, okay? Tonight's not about deliberations. We're not making decisions. The board will be asking clarifying questions from any of the presentations, okay? All right, so our first speaker tonight is Dan Walk.
You may have to eat that.
Eat it? Oh, all right. All right. We are all here for education and whatever it takes to provide our children with the best outcomes possible. More than anything, we don't want to close any schools. Educators' jobs could be lost, and it's a learning disruption to our students, among many other factors. I don't want to see any schools close. You all likely don't want to see any schools close. However, if any schools should close, it should start with Cochranton. But why? It costs the district thousands of dollars more to educate each Cochranton student in grades 7 to 12 compared to each student in grades 7 to 12 at Meadville schools. There are many more students in Meadville compared to Cochranton. Meadville has many more houses, many more blocks to walk. One proposal is to bus all Meadville elementary students out of the city. This will make the children inaccessible to their parents, who may be without transportation and live in the poorest parts of this district. So we are lacking in logic and critical thinking, something all educators stress every day in their classrooms just to save a school. We need to find solutions that are the most fair to our taxpayers, the most fair to most of our students, and to most parents. Not a niche priority because that's where most of the school board directors are from. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Jason Ramsey.
Thank you, everyone. I didn't realize public comment would be at the beginning, so I'm rapidly typing what I was going to say, so it's a little unfinished. I apologize, but I did the best I could. First off, I want to thank you, the board members, for your hard work. Public service is a real challenge, and having performed work like that in my life, I just want you to know that I appreciate the time and energy you put in making your community a better place. I stand to speak in support of the city school. City schools like 1st District, 2nd District, and formerly East End serve as neighborhood cornerstones anchoring and strengthening the town of Meadville. A strong Meadville anchors the school district and county in a way that no other unit in the area can. Meadville centers the identity of the West County and the district. At the end of the day, the surrounding townships that surround Meadville need a vibrant and strong Meadville a lot more than Meadville needs the opposite. Supporting the town fabric of Meadville through the support of the Meadville Area School District and 1st District Elementary, supporting walkable small-town neighborhoods is the forward-looking approach that sets our community up to take advantage of future trends rather than continuing to look back and pour good money after bad in the failing suburban experiment of the 60s and 70s. Meadville is only successful if it does what it does well, being a vibrant small town. Crawford County and its citizens depend on that vibrant Meadville. I echo the concerns that it's a sad day to close any school, but I ask the board to preserve the city schools. Thank you.
Okay, our first committee that we have up will be our presentation by facilities.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Zach Norwood, and I am honored this evening to speak on behalf of the Facilities Committee on the work that we've done in exploring the facilities for the school district. When working together, this was a really difficult process because there is so many things going into these decisions. I want to be very clear to both the audience that's here and the board that this facility committee tried really hard to get to a single recommendation, and we could not do that. So what you are going to see tonight is a series of options that we felt were the best viable that we could agree on as a committee to provide you, okay? So I'm going to talk briefly about the evaluation matrix that we used to get to the options that we had available, talk about the different proposals, and then as a committee, we could come to a consideration of some must-do actions and some non-negotiables. It's increasingly important for us to make decisions that are data-driven and fair to everyone because we are pulling ourselves out of the equation. So what we did was we tried to compare apples to apples. We looked at all of the facilities in Crawford Central, and we came up with a series of matrix evaluation criteria that we could take every single building, every single facility, and give it a ranking. Those items included land, cost to address the concerns that were identified in the feasibility study, the location, the building capacity and enrollment, or the walkability of the school. This is an example of how we configured and thought about them. We ranked them 1 through 3, either least favorable, most favorable, or neutral in the middle. The board has a copy of that matrix, but we didn't want to get into it tonight for the presentation. We also recognized that not doing anything was not going to save us. So you will not see a recommendation here. As much as many of us would like to keep all of the schools open, that was not one of the options here from the Facilities Committee. But you will also see that we do not identify which schools and name any of them either. So the first series of options is the ones that have the least amount of impact or additional cost to the district. They are just identified items out of the feasibility study. The first is to consolidate one of the 4 Meadville elementary schools into the other buildings. This was determined as an option because of student enrollment. We would not need to take and increase any building facility because the other schools could establish and absorb one of the 4 elementaries. The second option is to consolidate 2 of the 4 Meadville elementary schools into 2 of the other buildings. With this, we recognize that the facilities do not have enough capacity to hold all of the students should they be consolidated into 2 buildings. Therefore, this comes along with having the 6th grade students move up to the middle school. And I will mention at this point, there are other items in the other categories that may align and connect. So these are not exclusive options, but they may connect or add on to one another. The third option is to consolidate Cockerton Senior and Junior High School into the Meadville High School and Middle School. The next round of proposals that we came up with, or options, have more extensive renovations or additions to existing facilities. These would be adding on wings or adding on redoing large portions of schools to address the concerns of where students need to be. The first option was to renovate the existing building, renovate one of the existing buildings to combine all of the Meadville elementary schools. So that would be taking an existing elementary school and combining everyone into that facility and expanding it, creating one major campus at one school. The second option is renovating this facility, the Meadville High School and Middle School campus, and having it be the campus for all 4 elementaries in Meadville. The third option is creating a Meadville High School, Middle School, renovating this facility to bring up the 6th grade class from all 4 of the elementary schools. So again, previous decision in the last slide, option 2 would go along with an option 3 in the renovation options. And option 4 would be renovating Cochranton Senior High School and Junior High School to include Cochranton's elementary school, making one all-inclusive campus for all of the Cochranton schools. The last series of options or proposals are the most extensive of the discussions that we had. These include building new facilities. And while it may not seem like the most logical decision, sometimes one domino falls and hits many other dominoes and results in other decisions having to be made. The first option was building a mega elementary school campus combining all Meadville elementary schools. This would not be on a site of an existing facility. This would be a new location and a new facility. Option 2 would be building a centralized high school, middle school campus combining Meadville and Cochranton. But it would not be using this facility for Meadville and Cochranton, but rather creating a new facility. Option 2, again, would go back and tie into option 2 of using this facility for all of the 4 elementary schools in Meadville. So we also recognize that there are some actions that have to be made after talking with faculty, talking with administration, talking with you all as school board, that just need to occur, and whether they are going to have implications today, they will have implications down the road, and so they need to be thought out very extensively. The first must-do action that our committee decided is that the ISC should be liquidated, and all of the staff and use of that facility should go into other existing facilities in the district. One of the lenses, which I'll speak to in a moment, that we kept and looked through was minimizing the impact on students. The notion of liquidating and moving the staff that work at the ISC has negligible impact on students in a day-to-day life. It will impact faculty, it will impact staff, it will impact you all, but students won't feel that necessarily. The second item is specific to a school. When looking at the report, when talking to staff, when talking to administration, when talking to you all, it became very clear that there are needs at Neeson Hill that may not be able to wait 12 months, 16 months, 2 years to make a decision on how the rest of the district is going to address the long-term investments that need to be made. So our action to you all, our recommendation is that an investment needs to be determined, whether Neeson Hill receives the investment, a decision needs to be made on whether Neeson Hill receives investments or should be closed, because it is the elementary school in Meadville that needs the most financial investment and needs it sooner than all of the other buildings. The third item that was a must-do is that regardless of which decisions you make and which options you choose, we recognize that all of the elementary districts need boundary changes. Because when students have to go to a new school, population demographics and where people are living in our area will overburden or overcrowd one school more than another, and we need to make sure that that's as effective as possible when we're serving our students. And finally, we wanted to make sure that we're not thinking about these facilities as nooses around our neck, but also ropes to get us out of the hole. And so the action of exploring other revenue options for each of the facilities was critically important. And so we encourage you to consider that and to keep that at the forefront as you move forward with making a decision. Whether that means logging or solar developments on existing properties that are maintained or kept, when properties are transferred or sold out of the district's ownerships, considering deed restrictions on properties to ensure that they are tax paying after ownership from the district so that there is a long-term ROI rather than just a simple check that we get one time, or before and after school care in the buildings. As we are building potentially or expanding and renovating facilities, is there a way to create and add additional aftercare or before care facilities? And finally, there were some items that our committee determined were just non-negotiables. First and foremost, student welfare was number one. Just because something can be done doesn't mean it should be done. And so when looking through the lens of your decision, we highly encourage and request that you make a decision that's in the best welfare of the students first and foremost. Secondly, we thought that maintaining or improving the student-to-faculty ratios per building was critical. We understand that there are state recommendations. We get that that makes sense. We want to make sure that we are at our student-to-faculty ratios or those state recommendations moving forward. We also recognize that travel to schools is really important, and students being on extraordinarily long bus rides does not make sense. So taking and thinking about the location of the school compared to where students are housed and how long they're going to travel to and from that school, we ask that you maintain at least a 1 hour maximum on that travel time. We also wanted to make it very clear that the facilities, if they receive investments, they remain open for at least a decade. We all are well aware of East End. We all know sort of the story and the situation with that facility, and we don't want to see that happen again. And so if there is an investment, if you choose to invest in one of the buildings, please make it a long-range, long-term decision, not just something that's going to be a Band-Aid for 3 years or 5 years. And then finally, I mentioned this before, if a facility is to be liquidated, if you are going to take an asset of a physical facility and transfer it to private ownership, we encourage you to ensure that there's a long-term ROI. It does not serve the district in the long term to have a one-time payment of a check for a physical asset and not have any recurring investment in our tax base. I just want to thank the other 30 members of this committee, the 3 committed staff members and 2 board members who came to all of our meetings. I can't speak for the other committees, but our committee met frequently enough that we all sort of got very frustrated looking at each other's faces, and it was at times daunting and difficult. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you who dedicated time and did that. So thank you. I don't know if there's any questions.
Do any board members have questions?
No.
If none,
No.
on behalf of the board, I will thank you for your commitment to your recommendations and appreciate the hard work you put in.
Thank you.
Our next committee that we will have up is the presentation by the Special Services Committee.
Good evening. Good evening. All right, now I'm on. Oh. Where's Kylie? We're having technical difficulties. It's not projecting. Oh, wait. There it is. There we go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mandy Miller. This is Chris Gordon. Chris and I are celebrating 27 years as teachers here in Crawford Central. And thank you. Chris has spent all of her time in special education. Chris and I started out in special education and then went to regular education. So we are representing the Special Services Committee that includes students, our population that has learning support, autism, emotional support, speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, so any of our special services, special needs. Our first slide is our team. We had a team up here, and we had principals, teachers, paras, parents, and Letitia was our board member that was on our team. So I just want to thank all of them because we had many discussions, lots of meetings, lots of time. So a huge shout out to them and thank you for coming and providing your input. So as the facility committee had spoke, we kind of came up with a couple of options with our committee too. So the first option A is to have one Meadville Elementary Super School, K to 5, a Cochranton Elementary K to 5, and then the Cochranton Mash MAMs. So that was kind of an option that we all agreed upon. We also discussed a second option. If we are building on to a school, we could house 6th grade, K to 6 for both Meadville and Cochranton. For the high schools, absorbing Cochranton into Meadville, Cochranton could then become a STEM school. It has an amazing robotics program. We could offer other science, technology, engineering, mathematics programs, build the already robotics program there, offer it to Crawford Central students, districts around us, and counties around us, so we could pull students into those opportunities that we have. So the first one, we're going to have pros for having elementary. Now keep in mind, we were special services, so all of our recommendations involve that student population. So first, special education services can be scheduled more efficiently by clustering students. Staff can specialize within a grade band rather than managing a wide range of abilities across all grades. Number 3, opportunities for looping, so teachers can follow those students. Number 4, students remain with the same peers and staff over multiple years, building a strong rapport, trust, and predictable routines. With special education students, routine is very important. Number 5, reduce transition stress for many students. Number 6, promote a more inclusive learning environment. Number 7, all special education services are provided within the same building, allowing for open collaboration and support among the staff. Number 8, professional development can be tailored for specific grade levels. Number 9, reduce the number of at-risk transient students. Number 10, fiscally responsible by centralizing transportation. and also building substitute capacity. Number 11, ensure equitable access to resources, including classrooms and playgrounds. And number 12, consistent staff who are not required to move between buildings during the school day. So here's some pros for MAMS MASH Concordia High School. Number 1, all services, life skills, emotional support, autistic support are already provided within a single building. Number 2, instruction and supports are developmentally appropriate for all students. Number 3, academic instruction is organized into grade level bands. Number 4, curriculum planning is coordinated to align with grade level academic bands and student needs. Number 5, students have the opportunity to move between classes as needed. So if we have, this also includes our gifted students. So if they are advanced in math, they're able to move at the high school level. So things to ponder. These were things that we would just constantly go over, so we thought if we're pondering them, we'll give the board our thoughts to ponder. So number 1, staff reductions may occur as a result of school closures. Number 2, teachers are required to manage multiple progress monitoring systems simultaneously if staff reductions occur. Number 3, implementation of drawing new district lines. Number 4, impact of busing, logistics, and increased student travel distances. Number 5, possible additional specific special education classrooms, like a life skills or autistic, those rooms may need to be added. Number 6, personnel movement due to enrollment number increasing. Number 7, quiet areas to support larger number of special needs students, including during the lunch period and behavior outbursts. Number 8, special education teachers may not hold the appropriate certifications to meet student needs. And number 9, consideration must be given to lunch schedules, encore classes, and restroom access. And that is our presentation from Special Education Committee.
Any questions from the board? Any?
No.
None? If not, again.
Hold on.
Oh,
Do you have any non-negotiables like the other presentation?
Like anything you want to see?
No, because for special education, there are guidelines that are set, legal guidelines that are set. So for special education, that's a little bit different, because if this happens, this has to happen. So.
on behalf of the board, we appreciate your input and work by your committee. Thanks.
Okay, our third presentation will be our curriculum committee.
Sorry.
Sorry, it didn't stick in me.
No going at the. Can't get out of work. It's like one.
No, seriously. There you go. We'll just have to drive there.
Yeah.
IT emergency.
Why is it not projecting? Everything is on.
Have you sent it? Oh, look, I fixed it. Did you fix it? I don't know. Maybe. Oh, I fixed it. There you go. And then does this just work? Kylie, is it just what's going to right on this thing? Okay. I guess we'll try. Yeah. Stand closer to that and we'll be good. Click
Okay.
forward.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for all being here tonight. My name is Lacey Heffern. I'm a parent of children in the district, and I serve as the principal secretary within the district. Tonight, we are presenting a committee recommendation that was developed through thoughtful discussion, collaboration, and a strong focus on what best supports student learning. Before we begin, I would like to invite Dr. Erica Howick to introduce herself. She is going to co-present with me.
Hello, good evening. I am a proud graduate of Crawford Central School District, and I am 20 years almost in education. I am the principal of Sagertown High School, and everything that I learned at Crawford Central gave me a passion for education, so I'm very excited to do this presentation for you guys tonight.
As we move forward, Dr. Howick and I will alternate slides sharing the recommendations. We appreciate your time to listen. Did it work? Yeah, just click it.
There you go.
As we move through these slides, we want to be very clear about one important point. This presentation is based strictly through a curriculum lens. We understand that some of the ideas presented may feel challenging, and we recognize there are many factors involved in a district-wide decision. However, in a perfect world, and when viewed solely through the lens of curriculum and student learning, this is what we believe is best for all students. This slide is going to focus on the concept of one single campus. A key benefit is eliminating district transitions. If a student moves to a new address within the district, they would remain at the same school with the same teachers, peers, and grade level community. All students would remain in one building rather than relocating for specific programming such as autism support, life skills, or emotional support. This model also eliminates the need for students to change schools every 2 years, which would occur in a grade level building structure. At its core, this model supports consistency, stability, and continuity for students. So we are looking at West End Elementary as a single campus for K through 5, moving 6th grade to the middle school, and then having the rest of just stays the same, 6th through 8th at the middle school and 9th through 12th as a high school.
Having uniform instruction is paramount in ensuring that all Crawford Central students are prepared for the skills that they need for the future. By having single campuses, Crawford Central staff can be maximized due to being available all day and not split amongst the different buildings. Professional learning communities and common planning time will allow for collaboration between teachers, and common planning time will allow for the teachers to collaborate about students and ensure that their consistency and rigor is the same at each grade level. Teachers can bring their unique perspectives and experiences to help in co-planning for grade levels and reduce the stress of working alone or with only one other teacher. This vertical alignment allows teachers to collaborate daily to address student progress and reduce instructional gaps. In this model, it will also allow for flexible grouping options that will allow students to get extension and interventions based on their specific skill needs. This model allows for constant movement between grade level teachers and accelerate or intervene with students who need more challenging work or need additional time to support to maintain grade level competencies. Teacher coverage during sub-shortages ensure that students will continue on the curricular scope and sequence without overcrowding already large classrooms due to having other grade level teachers available to split classes. And lastly, K-5 structure will also allow for all grades in the elementary to look at state requirements and skills necessary for students to master prior to going to high school. Having all of these teachers and students in one building will provide a consistent structure so that all students in Crawford Central are prepared equitably due to the vertical alignment of curriculum, the access to more time with teacher resources such as learning support, OT, PT, gifted, and specials. Administration can work in a leadership capacity with all levels to create a uniform approach to preparing students for the next grade levels through planned collaboration between grade level teams.
Special education and student services. This slide focuses on the special education. A single campus would allow all special education services to be centralized in one building, streamlining support and instruction. This model would significantly reduce lost instruction time caused by staff traveling between buildings for services such as ESL, gifted, speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and other specialized instruction. Centralization allows staff to spend more time with students and collaborate more effectively.
Consolidation of these schools allows us to move forward with flexible scheduling with blocked quarterly or semester options for deeper learning, especially when it comes to specials and electives. This gives students deeper dives into subjects like STEAM or the arts rather than short fragmented bursts. We envision a makerspace environment where the arts aren't just an extra, they're integrated into the core curriculum through application-based learning. The traditional library also needs to evolve into a media STEM center. Our current libraries lack the infrastructure for a true 21st century experience. This plan includes 3D printing, coding centers, and digital learning labs. Some ideas to improve the specials at the elementary and the electives at the high school would be the introduction of robotics and circuitry and coding at our elementary levels, Lego education in our K-12 program, hands-on logic puzzle centers. In our arts, the digital arts, AI-assisted art, jewelry, painting, and clay. Our library, a creation of grade level novels in conjunction with the arts, statewide competitions in literacy, virtual and gifted and talented programs through virtual tours and activities that are available online. And then also with music, the creation of not only the extension of our bands and choruses, but using platforms such as GarageBand, soundproof rooms with mixing boards to develop musical interests on digital platforms.
This slide addresses transportation and safety. In a one-campus model, all students would ride a bus, providing consistent and reliable transportation across the district. This could lead to improved attendance as students would no longer need to walk in inclement weather or cross busy streets. From a safety standpoint, this ensures more equitable and predictable transportation for all families.
In terms of student safety and discipline, this isn't just about bigger buildings, it's about better oversight. Administrative coverage is essential in any school building. Absences and meetings occur for all of us, and it's essential that there is administrative coverage whenever we do have those absences. Having multiple LEAs available in the buildings will provide safety and stability in times of absences. With larger administrative teams in one location, principals can specialize in things like curriculum, school culture, and discipline. We are proposing a refocused restorative room instead of just sending students home and being reactive, providing space for reteaching of behaviors and being proactive as behaviors are initially noticed, and keeping these students in school where they can learn the appropriate strategies to be successful in school. As someone who has worked through positive behavior interventions and supports in 2 high schools, I have been part of being recognized as a Tier 2 school at both Maplewood and Sagertown. I believe that if you teach the expectations to students, you can make great changes. Provide rewards and expectations, and you teach them daily. They will meet you where you want them to be. And then lastly, streamlining our office staff. Having secretaries dedicated in our offices related to items such as attendance, finances, discipline, reporting, and guidance services, as well as arrival and dismissal procedures. Providing ability for office coverages in absences instead of trying to secure substitutes at additional costs. So having those additional staff members available within that larger school system to pick up and support our students.
This slide focuses on family and community engagement. A single campus would support the creation of one district-wide PTO. This structure would allow families to grow as core PTO parents from kindergarten through 12th grade, building long-term involvement and strong relationships across the district. Over time, this could help establish a stronger PTO presence at the middle and the high school levels, where engagement is often more difficult to sustain. Currently, field trips and enrichment opportunities vary widely between schools. Each PTO functions differently and has different levels of support. A unified PTO would promote greater equity in fundraising, enrichment opportunities, and family involvement, while also reducing the burden on families with children in multiple buildings or programs. And that brings me to field trips. This is the final slide I'm going to be presenting on. Field trips are currently funded through PTOs. A single campus and district-wide PTO would allow for consistent curriculum-based field trips across all grade levels. It would also provide one centralized departure location, simplifying logistics and ensuring equitable access for all students.
So there are 3 links here at the bottom of this slide for the board to explore on their own. But these are, I have not visited the Steele Elementary School, but I have visited Seneca Valley and Warren County, and I've seen some of the great things that both of those schools are doing as they have kind of gone through similar processes of building new schools or new programs. So I would ask that you take a look at schools that have already sort of started this future forward progress to see what they did, what strategies they used to get their schools where they're at. I believe, I just saw yesterday that Seneca is investing another $19 million in another high school. So they're very creative in these schools, specifically at Seneca. When I visited there, they have flexible learning stations. They have open collaborative locations for all grade levels of students to explore and create. So I'm asking that, when we make a decision in the future, we're looking at not just building a wing on a school, but if we're going to create a mega school or a collaboration of multiple schools, we're making this a fun environment to heighten creativity and collaboration for our students. And then to wrap everything up, the reason we came up as a team with this recommendation is to optimize our staffing, address the issue of staffing being spread across multiple locations and the loss of instructional minutes, creating collaborative environments, so having our counselors, administrators, and specialized teachers working together in the same space, fostering a unified approach to all Crawford Central students. Increasing our capacity so that staff can serve more students effectively, eliminating gaps in educational services caused by frequent transitions and relocations. Seamless progressions where students can grow and progress further, minimizing cultural and academic adjustments often experienced during elementary to secondary school transitions. And lastly, but it's not here on the slideshow, creating equity and access and growth for all of our Crawford Central students. We did not create a thank you slide, which I really apologize to everyone on our committee. It was a wonderful committee to work with. There's roughly 20 of us, and it ranged from board members to administrators to teachers to community members to parents. I think we were represented by every single building in our district. So for that, I thank you all for supporting us and choosing us to present tonight. Do you have any questions for us?
I just have one. Just to confirm, for the one building, because I had heard the I believe it was Lacey, like you said, everything would stay the same, but is this combining Cochranton as well, or are you keeping Cochranton?
No, it would
Okay,
be all
so-
Crawford Central schools.
Okay, thank you.
Again, thank you on behalf of the school board.
Okay, our fourth presentation for this evening will be Finances and Transportation Committee.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Josh Webster, and I'm the chairman of the Finance and Transportation Committee. A little bit about me. I am the plant controller at Parker Lord up in Sagertown. I have 2 young children that will be entering the district very soon, and I have my spouse is also a teacher in the district, so just like many of my committee members, I have significant investment in the future outcomes that are going to come from these decisions. So, we were just very thankful that we were able to take part in this. I would like to preface the presentation with, our job on the Finance Committee was to try to generate ideas that would have the greatest positive financial impact to the district, knowing the trend that we're going in now. Realizing that and recognizing that there are, significant changes to what we would be proposing, also recognizing that there's, significant disruption to the current structure and format of the district. So we realize that that is definitely going to happen. However, we think we were able to produce the best ideas we could given the amount of time that we had. So I'm very thankful to the committee that we were able to meet and do a lot of data analysis, a lot of delegation, and we think we arrived at some pretty good recommendations, and I think you'll also see there's significant overlap between our presentation and then the other ones that you've seen thus far. So a little bit of the introduction background to our committee. So we felt we were very diverse with our representation. We had very good collective efforts at every meeting that we had. So we have support staff represented on our committee. We have teachers. We have administration. We also have community members like myself. We believe this gave us a nice mix of opinions and knowledge on the topics that were being discussed and also of the district funding issue. So we did hold 7 meetings in total, and each meeting was between 1.5 and 2 hours, so we did put quite a bit of time into this. In addition to these meetings, we had substantial individual efforts outside of our regular meetings to prepare for subsequent meetings. So some of the assumptions and some of the figures that went into this presentation. So the data that we used for our modeling purpose was based on the FY 25-26 school year budget and capital plan. So realizing that some things may have changed subsequent to that, but we did have to pick a point in time to use for our modeling purposes. So some of these numbers include $67.2 million in annual revenue and a current $69.5 million in annual operating expenses. And what we did is we basically placed a 2% inflation adder on those operating expenses year after year. This also aligns with the 5-year projection that the district had already presented. We modified our capital spending based on our assumptions to be about $250,000 per year starting next school year, basically just to cover the necessary safety improvements for all of the buildings. We also cross-referenced other similar projects to what we would be proposing to come up with a number for about $500 per square foot for construction costs. And this would be based on renovation and addition and not just ground up new construction. Also, we made assumptions on the savings on building closures. That was based on utility cost, yearly maintenance fees, insurance, and some of the custodial staff to run the building. This is just a quick slide that shows the data that we used to make some of our calculations. So we had two different data points. One was the feasibility study, which is the renovation cost, and then one was the independent analysis done by McClure, also doing the same thing, telling us, roughly what it would cost to renovate the buildings and get them up to current standard. So we did have some non-negotiables in our presentation. Really, all the recommendations we want to consider. We want to keep high morale, trust, and confidence in the district with whatever transpires. Absolutely, that's non-negotiable. Any district sold, or any property sold in the district must return to the city, county, and school tax rolls, just as said in some other presentations. Some level of building consolidation is going to have to occur as the current model of where we're heading is not financially sustainable. Educational quality and access to critical programs cannot decline as a result of any consolidation that's going to happen. And lastly, where at all possible, we would like furloughs to be avoided, although we recognize consolidation will mean there will be staff impacted as well. So I don't really need to talk a whole lot about this. Everybody kind of knows where we're at, but we wanted to highlight the fact that the current path is not an option, right? We can't continue on the way that we're heading, so we just wanted to make that recognize that we are definitely not recommending to continue status quo. So the first idea would be a full consolidation of the Meadville elementary schools. So we would consolidate into one single school, K through 5, estimated to be complete by the end of school year 2028. We would use, for our model, we used a school roughly the size of West End just for modeling purposes. If you use that, you would have to add on approximately 55,000 square feet to the current building in that location to accommodate this sort of consolidation. This would also move the 6th grade up to the middle school, and then we would have to redraw boundary lines, potentially shifting some more enrollment towards Cochranton Elementary as well to try to get that right-sized. And then lastly here, we would also want to relocate the ISC, but it needs to be an educational property and move wherever the rest of the group moves to keep consolidation in the buildings. The estimated financial impact of this would be savings of $2.1 million in annual expenses, partially offset by an estimated $1.9 million yearly payback on the loan it would take for construction. So this actually brings you a cost avoidance of almost $43 million in necessary capital improvements. That was based on the McClure estimate that we received recently. That would require about a $27.5 million bond to cover the proposed construction that we had of that 55,000 square feet. What this does is it delays the current fund deficit to approximately sometime between the 2028 and 2029 school year. The strengths of this proposal, it has the second highest positive financial impact to the district of everything that we discussed. It gives you sharing of resources, including SROs, guidance, mental health councils, nurses, etc., simplified staffing and scheduling and curriculum alignment. It eliminates the high-cost elementary facilities from the 5-year maintenance plan. You'll get savings on personnel costs. And this savings on personnel costs would be in addition to the savings that we defined in our assumptions, realizing with the time that we spent, not all cost savings could be identified, not all cost increases could be identified, right? Just that's with the amount of time that was allotted, we tried to get everything that we could, knowing we can't cover everything. It actually also gives you a simplified maintenance schedule too, with fewer buildings to have to plan for. Some of the risks involved with this would be significant neighborhood identity loss, right? You lose neighborhood schools. Transportation times may increase to go from certain facilities, knowing that, there's the potential of, I have to now, my kids now go from one side of town to the other side of town, potentially, depending on what location would be selected. It also would require an additional feasibility study to do more research for the construction site, for its capacity, the traffic and building costs, right? These are high-level estimates that we performed, and you would also need to do an additional transportation study. This is just a structure of the timeline that I explained, so you can see here, based on the revenue and expenses and the planned capital that we had every year, you can see that crossover of the fund balance going negative sometime in the school year 2029. So we would recommend beginning construction as soon as possible. The first year as the construction's underway would be the optimal time to move the 6th grade to the middle school and close at least one elementary school early on. So do this in phases essentially instead of at one time, because that would be very, very difficult from a disruption standpoint. The second year, complete construction at the selected location and then close the additional 2 elementary schools in Meadville. And then year 3 would be to renovate or move the ISC to your recently renovated location and then assess possibility of a secondary consolidation. That would lead us to number 2, would be idea number 1, and then on top of that, a secondary consolidation as well. So basically we would consolidate all the elementary schools as described prior, and then create one district middle school and high school at MAMS MASH. So that would basically be Cochranton and Meadville consolidation. And then continue that relocation of the ISC just as described prior. This has the largest positive financial impact of everything that we researched. It would get you $2.8 million in annual expense savings roughly, once again offset by that $1.9 million in yearly loan paybacks. It does give you a long-term cost avoidance of almost $55 million of capital improvements. It would require the same $27.5 million bond for the construction of the one large elementary school, realizing we didn't have enough time to know, what additional expenses this may incur for consolidation of the secondary schools. This model delays the fund balance deficit in one additional year, so sometime between 2029 and 2030. Strengths already mentioned, it's the highest positive financial impact. Additional sharing of resources even more, because now you have a secondary consolidation as well. It's the most academically equitable model that we had, so all the 6 through 12 students, grades 6 through 12 students, share programs, AP classes, logistics, so on and so forth. The consolidated staff reduces program duplications. You'd have additional savings on personnel costs. It's not modeled in our numbers that we had on here, and you would also have some savings most likely on athletics and facilities as well. The same risks would be involved in this, just as stated in number 1, plus some additional ones that we've identified, right? So there'd be a large political and emotional-based resistance from the community. We're positive of that. We know there are hidden expenses that we, haven't researched yet, but more than likely this would be offset by, reductions in staff throughout some of the facilities. It does introduce some level of logistical and safety concerns that we would have to research more to try to iron those out. And this particular piece would need to be researched and figured out early on in the construction phase. This just shows that timeline that we mentioned before, so you can see it pushes back slightly the fund balance deficit. Timeline's roughly the same, except at the end of it now, we would say that after year 3 into year 4 is when you would attempt to finalize your secondary consolidation. However, we do recognize that there are additional ideas needed for this, right? As you can see, that only gets you a few years. So we have outlined some other recommendations and ideas that should take place in addition to and subsequent to what we are proposing. One idea could be early retirement incentive offerings for those staff that are close to retirement, healthcare or bonus incentives for some of the most senior staff. Just a note here, so $42 million approximately of the $70 million yearly expenses are allocated to salaries and benefits. So that's your tall bar, if you will. Another additional idea would be timber and sale of any unused property that the district owns, especially if you would have no plans on, using it for construction or anything in the future. and then, this generates you one-time revenue by the harvesting of the timber and the potential sale of those facilities that you would no longer be using. And then just a couple more additional options that we had to consider. Tax increases, at some point this would probably still need to occur. Reason for that is, the current tax structure that we're paying is, outdated by close to 30 years. We're paying the school taxes of roughly 1990s, early 2000s levels. So we haven't really kept up with inflation for reasons obvious, but just to note that, we haven't had increases other than a small one here and there for, almost 30 years. Also, and lastly here, the potential to renegotiate healthcare costs could generate a savings of 10 to 20%. Based on that $42 million, as you said, a large portion of that is healthcare costs. So if there's any way we can renegotiate that, and I think behind the scenes there are some ideas for that right now, so that could generate you some big positive savings on a yearly basis as well. This is just a note that we did actually explore some of the different sites as far as building construction is concerned. Neeson Hill, it has the available square footage from the property standpoint. However, the layout's not very conducive based on the L shape that it is currently in. Also, it would require the most significant upgrades to the existing building, so it would be the most money that you would be borrowing as far as getting that $27.5 million loan would probably increase $30 million and beyond most likely. First and second district were evaluated. There's not really enough usable property at either one for such a large-scale expansion, not that we could see anyway. And then, that kind of leaves us with West End. It's the newest building, has the least amount of renovation required, and it makes it from the lens that we're looking through the most obvious choice, realizing some more analysis would have to go into that. But that is based on two different sets of data points, the feasibility study and the McClure estimates. So again, we know there were a lot of things that we didn't have time to consider. We did a very good job with what we had. Directionally speaking, the model makes sense, but again, there's hidden costs, there's probably hidden expenses, there's some hidden cost savings in there. We tried to generate the most unbiased ideas that we could, realizing we're the finance committee. And, the decisions were made solely on the best financial impact for the district moving forward. So I thank all of our committee members. I think we did a really good job. We had a lot of great input, and for the most part, we had a lot of very positive deliberations. So with that, are there any questions?
I actually want to clarify, look from your one slide there, you're saying basically our income is off by $2 million versus our expenses.
Correct.
Okay. And then you said about $54 million in future savings. And then now your construction costs, but you kept coming back to that we're still going to be into our fund balance, negative fund balance. So I guess I'm trying to rectify that in my mind as to how are you saying we're saving 54 million in future savings, investing only 27, but yet we're still going to deplete the fund balance. That's not rectifying in my head exactly.
Yeah, so that's going to be based on your loan payback, right? So your 54 million comes from the estimates of what all your sites currently need, right? So take away 54, add 27 and a half, right? So to pay that 27 and a half back over 20 years, it's going to be, $1.5 million a year to pay back. So again, you're still positively offsetting, but the problem is on a yearly basis, that still only pushes it out a few years.
That's what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, so you're going to have to, everything else being equal, right, you would still have to take additional actions to that, essentially is what we're trying to say.
That's what I just wanted to clarify. That's what I was seeing.
Yep, absolutely.
Any other questions? If not, again, on behalf of the board, we thank you for your time and efforts, and we'll move forward. I guess what we're going to do now is from this point moving forward, as Dr. Gelb mentioned earlier, we meet on the 16th at 5:30 at the ISC, and that's just going to be our regular meeting. But at that meeting, we will be discussing the potential of holding a special meeting just to discuss these recommendations that were presented tonight. There will be, let me say, there will be no decision on any of these recommendations this coming Monday or the following Monday, because we as a board have, I'm sure we all have info that we're going to request in addition to what was presented to us to help answer some of our questions. And moving forward, hopefully we will set that date probably sometime in middle of March. Don't hold me to that, for a special meeting just to kind of start reviewing some of this and looking at what we may want to pursue, if anything, at this point. And I'm not saying that we're going to do any of that. I'm not going to say we're not doing any of that. So, because that's what we will collaborate as a board of 9, plus our superintendent, to decide what road we're going to go down. So I just want to make it clear, though, that will be a special meeting. Nothing will be happening Monday or the following Monday, which is our regular board meeting. Our agenda will be posted Thursday afternoon for our upcoming committee meeting, and you will see there will be some discussion on some things, but nothing discussing what we're discussing here tonight or have seen. So I just want to make that clear that any future decisions on the future of Meadville schools, Cochrane schools, the district schools will be forthcoming after that meeting in March, or maybe we can be having a subsequent meeting to the one in March to even go further. We really don't have a timeline of when we're going to implement a lot of this, but as you can see from Josh's presentation, and I'm sure that Austin, if he was here, would validate that we are heading into some negatives down the road, and some decisions are going to have to be really made quite quickly. But I'm not saying within the next couple months. We do have a little bit of time to digest some of this, so moving forward, that's where we're at. Pay attention to our website, which has been upgraded, very easy to access our agendas and what's happening. It's not hidden. You click on the little 3 squares on the right-hand corner, we'll take you to our board agendas, our committee agendas. You can read past meetings. It'll have everything there. You can look at, probably this presentation may be posted here, I'm not sure. It'll be there. So just pay attention. And if you aren't seeing something or you're hearing something, don't be afraid to reach out to a board member. Don't be afraid to reach out to the central office and, hey, is this what's happening on the agenda? They are very open, and they will make sure that you know what we are discussing. So at that point, Dr. Galvin, do you have any questions, or any other board members?
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate your time.
And thanks for coming, and we'll look forward to seeing you in some future meetings.